Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. I am Noah Storm Chaser and veteran storm chaser Dale Sams here to give you a 10 a.m. severe weather update regarding today's severe weather threat here across the Central Plains, and then also take a look into tomorrow's severe setup across the Missouri and Mississippi Valley here. So let's go ahead and first take a look here at today. All right, so you can see we have another level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk here for the Central Plains. And this stretches from most of the northern half of Kansas here, central, western, and northern Kansas into southern Nebraska here, and even into portions of western Nebraska and extreme northeast Colorado. Okay, and then outside of this orange, we have a level 2 out of 5, a slight risk here that stretches from Nebraska to Kansas to even as far east as Kansas City. And then outside of that, we have a level 1 and marginal severe risk here that is across the plains, Great Plains here. So let's go ahead and walk you through here the current outlook right now. All right, so here's our tornado risk here for today. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. So we have a 5% hatched outline here for tornadoes. So what this means is that if you live anywhere here across from northeast Colorado, southwest Nebraska, into northwest central Kansas, even parts of east central Kansas, and even extreme southern Nebraska here, you have a possibility of a strong EF2 or greater tornado here later today and this evening. All right, now we don't want to forget about our folks out to the east here, who is not in part of this hatched area here for as far as eastern Kansas and far western Missouri. That includes the Kansas City metro here. While you're not under the hatched outline here for tornadoes today, there's still an isolated chance for a quick spin up, a QCLS spin up here along the leading edge of the storms overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. So that's our tornado risk right now. Our damaging wind risk here, we have a 30% hatched area here for a good portion of Kansas and southern Nebraska. Here, this is where we see the best possibility of 75 mile per hour or greater damaging winds here as storms begin to initiate later today out in the central Great Plains and grow upscale into an MCS here. That leading edge of the storms is going to be most likely to produce 75 plus mile per hour damaging winds and a few tornadoes. But regarding the damaging wind risk here, this is the best area where we're going to see the 75 mile per hour or greater. Outside of this red here, you have a more of an isolated chance of seeing 65 mile per hour or greater versus 75 mile per hour or greater. Okay. So that's our damaging wind risk here today. And then when we go to our hail risk here, the best area to see today for 2-inch hail or larger is going to be across the central Great Plains, here across northwestern and western Kansas into eastern, northeast Colorado, and to southwest Nebraska. Here, again, this is going to be mainly when storms first develop and initialize. They're going to be in supercell mode here and more surface-based, and that will help here for the probability of seeing 2-inch hail or larger. Again, before these storms grow upscale into more of a line. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look here at our current radar. All right, this is what we're currently looking at, and you see there's already storms developing here across central and southern Nebraska. Here, moving to the southeast, so if you live in Kearney, Nebraska here, or just to the east of North Platte, you have some storms, and some pretty beefy storms right now, already early in the day here, that is producing 60 mile per hour wind and even a few instances of quarter-sized hail. Now, we're going to have to watch to see how this evolution of these storms that are currently on radar, how they, evolutionize throughout the day. Because, again, this is in an area where there's a 30% risk for damaging winds, 2-inch hail, and even a few strong tornadoes. So how will this morning batch here of storms influence or undercut the development of secondary round storms later this afternoon for this portion of the severe risk area. And that's what remains to be unseen yet. This is something that we're monitoring and watching and seeing how trends and signals go here. Okay, so now also taking a look here at the current kind of like atmospheric dynamics here, taking in terms of dew point, here surface winds, temperature here. You can already see across here western Kansas, you can see, and across Central Great Plains, you can see now the isobars are getting closer. Here the surface heating and dew points are starting to move north. Here it's starting to already become, in its beginning stages here to support supercell development later today. And again, this is going to be the area where the best chance of seeing 2-inch hail and even a few strong tornadoes not out of the question. Okay, so that's what it currently looks like right now in the atmosphere, and this is only going to continue to build here as we get later in the morning and into the afternoon when surface heating builds here and all the dynamics start to overlap and come together to support thunderstorm development and thunderstorm growth. All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look here at future radar, okay? And we're taking a look here at the latest 13Z HRRR model, okay? And this is at 3 p.m. Now, it shows that cluster of storms that we were just looking at on radar here, it really shows it starting to fizzle out here and kind of decay by mid-afternoon, okay? Which this would mean that there's some atmosphere recovery going greatly in place across central and southern Nebraska here. So we'll see here. Again, we'll see how that part of the forecast pans out here, but for the most part here, nothing on radar. Now, you can already see there's some storm initiation here across eastern Colorado, and so I wouldn't be shocked if this solution, verifies here. I wouldn't be shocked if the Storm Prediction Center issued a watch by 3 o'clock for the Central Great Plains here from Nebraska, Colorado, western Kansas here for the storm initiation that HRRR model wants to put out here by 3 p.m. Okay, so now as we go through time here, now we're taking a look at 5 p.m. Okay, and you see again that storm initiation. This is the area we're going to be focusing on mainly, is across eastern Colorado. You see that the storms start to build and grow here. Again, 2-inch hail. Here, a few tornadoes, damaging winds is also possible here, with even at 5 p.m. here as the event gets underway. Okay, now let's go and fast forward through here to about let's say 9 p.m. Okay, now you can already see the HRRR model is already starting to build more of a linear mode, storm mode here, with some embedded supercells, pockets, if you will, of, again, some heavier cells. So, again, this is at 9 p.m. tonight. So this is going to be the just transition from supercell mode to linear mode. Okay. Now, as we fast forward this here to, let's say, about 2 a.m., okay? Now, this is interesting, okay? And the HRRR model has been given some signals here, okay? So at 2 a.m., it shows most of the storms here, most of the heavy rain and storms across Nebraska and Iowa. Here, for Kansas and Missouri, even for central and east central Kansas, it doesn't show much here. Where yesterday it was showing more of a line marching across I-70 in Kansas here overnight into early Sunday, and you see here there's not a lot of moisture here across Kansas and Missouri at 2 a.m. Okay, so looking further into that here, so again, this is at 4 a.m. and you see most of the rain and storms is across Nebraska and Iowa. Here, not much activity in eastern Kansas or western Missouri. All right, now fast forwarding to about 7 a.m., then you see it start to linear out here, and in that line moves through eastern Kansas and western Missouri here, including the Kansas City metro. And I want to stress that across eastern Kansas and western Missouri tonight here, your greatest severe risk is going to be damaging winds. Now, I do not think, initially I thought a few days ago we were going to be more under the gun for the enhanced winds here of 65 or 75 plus. I don't think that anymore, especially if the line comes in looking like this or even less. So I would say more of isolated pockets of higher damaging winds, 65 plus miles per hour. Okay. And if the leading edge of the line is, potent, if it has some juice to it, can't rule out an isolated spin up. But overall, right now, I'm not too concerned with Kansas City severe risk overnight tonight. Now, let's go ahead and get to about 9 a.m., okay, a few hours later. Okay, then you see that line pushes through, and the clearing is already starting to take place here across northeast Kansas, northwest Missouri. And you see up in Iowa, still storms here. And now let's fast forward to about noon. Now, as that initial line moves through, you see there's these other boundaries here. Okay, and these boundaries are going to have to, keep an eye on, especially this boundary right here. Okay, because right now what's currently forecasted by the Storm Prediction Center for the setup tomorrow is mainly south of Kansas, Missouri I-70 here, where storms are going to initiate. The latest NamNest and her models have been this morning have been showing the boundary further north here across northeast Kansas, northwest Missouri, similar to a few days ago, where storms would initiate here and not in the best environment for tornadoes or hail, but that's where storms initiated and they moved off to the southeast and moved into Illinois. All right. So again, this is at noon. And then at 2 p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here, you see this boundaries right over Kansas City and here. And this is where storms look to initiate around 2 o'clock tomorrow. So now, if this model solution verifies, if it continues to signal this way, I can see the Storm Prediction Center adjusting their outlook for tomorrow and expanding it a little more north here to include the Kansas City metro and also the tornado risk too, and the hail risk here. But again, it's mainly going to be from I-70, and I think from I-70 south and east, okay? Because as we look more into the future here, and at 6, 7 p.m., you see these are kind of basically two separate complexes of storms, but a lot more energy, a lot more heavier cells in eastern Missouri here, and even in across western Illinois here. And this is where, again, a few strong tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds, not out of the question here. Okay, current look right now, current signal by the models for today and tomorrow. And so to overview here, for today, what we need to monitor is, again, that storm complex right now up in Nebraska. How much does it continue to develop and form? And how quickly does it clear out for the atmosphere to recover and develop this afternoon storms here for that part of the risk area? And then the second thing we need to watch here throughout the day today is seeing how these storms, once they do initiate across the Central Great Plains, how quickly do they grow upscale and how much moisture return can happen here, because again, the HRRR model is showing very little moisture across Kansas and Missouri tonight. So if that solution were to play out here, this would again interfere with tomorrow's outlook and influence a little more wider area for severe weather tomorrow. Now, people have already asked me, what do I think about an enhanced risk being issued tomorrow, a level 3 out of 5? It's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely on the table. I wouldn't, in my personal opinion, I don't feel comfortable yet issuing that or saying that's going to come until we see how the evolution of tonight's MCS and complex of storms and how fast they move out tomorrow morning. Okay, because that's going to be the main uncertainty here in terms of for tomorrow's setup. Here is how does tonight's storms affect tomorrow's setup. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. This was a quick update on my thoughts for today and tomorrow. I'm also going to immediately post my updated Outlook graphic predictions here for today and tomorrow, along with this video on my Twitter at DaleSamsWX. If you haven't followed already, go ahead and follow here. And I may give an update later today regarding tomorrow's setup. It all depends on what the models are signaling, and what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking here as we go through the day. Hope you all have a fantastic and blessed and rest of your Saturday here, and we'll see you next time.